Hey everyone, this is Shotzi for the Rough Cuts on Sunday. I hope you all had a great week. Today I'm going to be talking about actually two movies today. It is going to be Clash of the Titans, the 1981 version, as well as the 2010 version. I'll start with the 1981 version, which is very different from the remake. The first one, it was directed by Desmond Davis, and this was actually one of my favorite movies when I was younger. It's starring Harry Hamlin, also Laurence Olivier, Claire Bloom. Many of you know that I have a weird obsession with Claire Bloom, and also Maggie Smith. This movie I absolutely adore. It has a lot of stop motion animation from the amazing Ray Harryhausen. In fact, this was the last movie that he worked on. And it's a great movie. It's very campy. There's a lot of cheese, but it's a great adventure story. And it's very different from the remake. You have Harry Hamlin who plays Perseus, and what happens is that he is the son of Zeus, and he's sets eyes on Princess Andromeda, who's very beautiful. He falls in love with her, he wants to marry her, but she is set to marry Calibus, who is the son of Thetis, the goddess. And Calibus, he isn't a very good person. In fact, he's horrible. He's a douchebag. And he slays all of the animals. He's the guardian of the wells of the moon. And he slays all of the animals, including Zeus's beloved pets, basically, which are the winged horses. The only one that escapes is Pegasus. And because of this, Zeus turns Calibus's good looks into this grotesque, horrific monster. And because of this, he's basically ousted by everybody. And Thetis is mad because Calibus was her baby. She adored him. And because of this, she pretty much plucked Perseus from his safe home and put him on the Isle of Joppa. This is where he sees Andromeda. He solves a riddle, which only Calibus was supposed to be able to solve, through the help of the gods. And so he is set to marry Andromeda. And at like this big party and everything, Andromeda's mother claims that she is so beautiful, she's even more beautiful than Thetis. And this angers Thetis, and so she sets Andromeda to be sacrificed to the Kraken. And that's when we take off on our story. So it's basically a beef between Thetis against the world. And the 2010 remake of it is very, very different. This becomes basically a beef between Hades, who is the god of the underworld and brother of Zeus, and mankind. So we start out with Perseus. Well, Perseus is found, just like in the original. But this time, when Perseus becomes a man, we see the statue of Zeus being demolished. And then all of the underlings from the underworld come, kill soldiers, and Hades appears. And so then at a party, once again, the queen declares Andromeda's beauty to be even more beautiful than the goddesses. This further ticks off Hades, and then he says that if Andromeda isn't sacrificed to the Kraken, then he is going to destroy Argos. So instead of Joppa, you have Argos. Instead of Thetis, you have Hades. And also, in the original, the gods will be the gods no matter what. In the remake, the gods are becoming weaker because the mortals aren't believing in them and they don't have their love. So it's very, very different. It becomes like a love story in the original, and the remake, it's more of man versus faith or lack thereof. It's very, very dark. Perseus is very bitter, and people just want revenge, basically. Now, I've seen and read a lot of really bad reviews about the remake, and you can't really compare it with the original. It's a very, very different story. But it's entertaining. The script for both of them is kind of poor. I think the acting in the original is much better, although Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes do give really good performances, I feel. And the stories in both, they do make sense. They're very different, but they do make sense. Nostalgia plays a huge role in the original. That's why I think it's so great. Ray Harryhausen, he put so much work into that. He actually had assistants in that movie. It was the first one that he ever had assistants in it. It was his last movie that he did. Took years to make. And this one, the CG, they're good, but they're not spectacular. I think this movie, it's very entertaining. I was entertained. I enjoyed this movie. Do I think it's going to be as memorable as the original? No. I think the next big blockbuster that's going to come out, people are going to start focusing on that. They're not really going to think about this movie. Whereas the original, people still watch it like 30 years later and they still enjoy it. So I don't think it's going to have the staying power that the original has, but it's entertaining. It's entertaining. I don't think it has the heart that the original movie had. But I still recommend seeing it. Of course, I recommend seeing the original as well. And I hope you all have a great week. So I will see you next week.